Admiral Richard E. Byrd and the Hollow Earth Theory, Part 1. Last updated, June 7, 1998. During the course of a 2-year period which extended from about early 1995 to the spring of 1997, I undertook a serious study of some of the more questionable ideas and theories which have become quite prominent in Western society since the early part of this century. Labeled as fringe ideas by most level-headed people, this study included an in-depth look into such areas as the alien, UFO phenomenon, government conspiracy theories, New Age thought and other related topics. In undertaking this study, like most people, I was partially motivated by my own curiosity, as well as by a personal desire to expand my understanding of such matters so that I could write about them in a more knowledgeable fashion. To emphasize the degree of dedication to which I performed this research, allow me to inform you that at one point, I had collected over 1,300 files related to these different areas of thought. These files included hundreds and hundreds of reports, personal testimonies, book extracts, commentaries, and some of the best UFO photographs available via the Internet. I spent a great deal of money and time to collect this information, and I read every single bit of it, a project which took me literally months and months to complete. What I quickly discovered during this time is that there is a worldwide body of people who have invested a great deal of time, energy, money and thought in their attempts to sort fact from fiction. Please note that I am not just referring to the common imaginative kooks who obviously have something loose rattling around in their brains, but I am referring to serious study groups which are organized and staffed by people with very professional backgrounds. The purpose of these organizations is to gather and carefully analyze as much information as is humanly possible. Some of these people work on very limited budgets. Even as a Christian, I must candidly admit that a lot of the information I came across is very interesting, some of it even to the point of being quite fascinating. Despite my long background in the study of the Bible, and my attempts to maintain a healthy degree of skepticism, at times, I too found myself being drawn into the web of delusion which has overcome some of those people who are not familiar with God's Word and the warnings that it offers. I imagine that it is only the Lord's mercy that I too was not completely deluded as some of those others have been. The reason I'm sharing this with you is to emphasize the powerfully deceptive nature of some of this material. I expound more fully upon this topic in other of my alien, UFO and New Age related articles, as well as in some of my end-time articles. I trust that you will take the time to read them. One particular topic which is well established within these circles of thought, is that of the idea of the existence of underground civilizations and secret bases operated either by advanced alien civilizations, by the descendants of Nazi Germany, by U.S. government shadow organizations, or by ancient human or semi-human civilizations which fled underground a very long time ago. In some cases, it is claimed that these underground bases and cities are joint human-alien endeavors. In studying this phenomenon, one comes across such topics as Mount Shasta and Telos, Shambhala and Agharta, Death Valley and the Panamint Mountains, Dells, New Mexico, Tibet, the Gobi Desert, Iron Mountain, Alice Springs, the Shaver Mysteries, the Taros and the Daros, the Atlanteans and the Lemurians, the Mothamen, the Greys, the Reptilians, the Nordics, etc. Being as plenty of information, as well as disinformation, has already been written on these various subjects, I will only be discussing a few of these later on in this article. What I wish to address at this current time is one central theme which encompasses all of these different topics, that is, the Hollow Earth theory. According to the proponents of this theory, contrary to what is stated in modern science books, the Earth is not a solid sphere with the molten or semi-molten iron core, but rather it is more akin to a hard-boiled egg in which most of the white, or the albumin, has been removed, leaving the yolk floating in the middle of the egg with an empty space existing between it, that is, the yolk, and the remaining albumin, which itself is protected by the hard outer shell. To put this in more geological terms, The adherents of the hollow Earth theory state that this yoke is in actuality a nuclear mini-sun which provides both light and life to this purported inner world. In other words, the Earth is actually a hollow sphere with a mantle much less thick than what we have been taught, and without an outer or inner core. The inner surface of this mantle is actually the ground of the inner Earth. It is claimed that the reason that the mini-sun does not crash into the inner surface of the Earth during its revolution around the Sun, is due to the energy released by this mini-sun acting as a repulsive force which keeps this mini-sun equidistant from all surfaces of the inner Earth, a theory which I personally find hard to accept. According to this theory, it is also said that the center of gravity is not in the center of the Earth, but rather in the middle of this much thinner mantle, which is just below the crust. In other words, just as a ball will drop to the ground if one is standing on the outside of the Earth, the very same thing will happen if one is standing on the inside of the Earth as well, that is, the ball will drop towards the ground, meaning, towards the outer surface of the planet, and away from the inner sun. In like manner, these theorists claim that just as we look up and see the sky around us with the sun traveling its daily course due to the Earth's rotation, an inhabitant of the inner Earth also sees a blue sky, albeit a somewhat hazy one, with the inner sun floating in the midst of it. It is also believed by the adherents of the hollow Earth theory that this inner world possesses valleys and mountains, and streams, rivers, lakes and oceans. It is the proposed origin of all of this water which leads us to the next part of our discussion. According to a certain questionable publication, a small booklet distributed by a company in the state of Missouri, USA, in early 1947, famous American aviator Admiral Richard D. Byrd was sent on an Arctic expedition by the United States government for the purpose of determining the feasibility of mining uranium in the Arctic Circle. If we believe what follows, on February the 19th, just after completing 3 hours into his flight, Admiral Byrd had an experience which totally changed his outlook on life, and his personal view of the American government as well. Here are what some people claim to be actual extracts from Byrd's secret diary for the months of February and March of that year, and then some final remarks recorded 9 years later in 1956 just prior to his death. Begin quote I must write this diary in secrecy and obscurity. It concerns my Arctic flight of the 19th day of February in the year of 1947. There comes a time when the rationality of men must fade into insignificance and one must accept the inevitability of the truth. I am not at liberty to disclose the following documentation at this writing. Perhaps it shall never see the light of public scrutiny, but I must do my duty and record here for all to read one day. In a world of greed and exploitation of certain of mankind can no longer suppress that which is truth. Flight log, Base Camp Arctic, February 19, 1947 06:00 hours. All preparations are complete for our flight northward and we are airborne with full fuel tanks at 06:10 hours. 06:20 hours. Fuel mixture on starboard engine seems too rich, adjustment made and Pratt Whitneys are running smoothly. 07:30 hours. Radio check with base camp. All is well and radio reception is normal. 07:40 hours. Note slight oil leak in starboard engine, oil pressure indicator seems normal, however. 08:00 hours. Slight turbulence noted from easterly direction at altitude of 2,321 feet, correction to 1,700 feet, no further turbulence, but tailwind increases. Slight adjustment and throttle controls, aircraft performing very well now. 08:15 hours. Radio check with base camp, situation normal. 08:30 hours. Turbulence encountered again, increase altitude to 2,900 feet, smooth flight conditions again. 09:10 hours. Vast ice and snow below, note coloration of yellowish nature, and disperse in a linear pattern. Altering course for a better examination of this color pattern below, note reddish or purple color also. Circle this area 2 full turns and return to assigned compass heading. Position check made again to base camp, and relay information concerning colorations in the ice and snow below. 0910 hours. Both magnetic and gyro compass is beginning to gyrate and wobble. We are unable to hold our heading by instrumentation. Take bearing with sun compass, yet all seems well. The controls are seemingly slow to respond and have sluggish quality, but there is no indication of icing. 0915 hours. In the distance is what appears to be mountains. 0949 hours 29 minutes elapsed flight time from the first sighting of the mountains. It is no illusion. They are mountains and consisting of a small range that I have never seen before. 0955 hours. Altitude changed to 2,950 feet, encountering strong turbulence again. 1,000 hours. We are crossing over the small mountain range and still proceeding northward as best as can be ascertained. Beyond the mountain range is what appears to be a valley with a small river or stream running through the center portion. There should be no green valley below. Something is definitely wrong and abnormal here. We should be over ice and snow. To the port side are great forests growing on the mountain slopes. Our navigation instruments are still spinning, the gyroscope is oscillating back and forth. 1005 hours. I alter altitude to 1,400 feet and execute a sharp left turn to better examine the valley below. It is green with either moss or a type of titanate grass. The light here seems different. I cannot see the sun anymore. We make another left turn and we spot what seems to be a large animal of some kind below us. It appears to be an elephant. No. It looks more like a mammoth. This is incredible. Yet, there it is. Decrease altitude to 1,000 feet and take binoculars to better examine the animal. It is confirmed. It is definitely a mammoth-like animal. Report this to base camp. 1,030 hours. Encountering more rolling green hills now. The external temperature indicator reads 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Continuing on our heading now. Navigation instruments seem normal now. I am puzzled over their actions. Attempt to contact base camp. Radio is not functioning. 1,130 hours. Countryside below is more level and normal, if I may use that word. Ahead we spot what seems to be a city. This is impossible. Aircraft seems light and oddly buoyant. The controls refuse to respond. My God. Off our port and starboard wings are a strange type of aircraft. They are closing rapidly alongside. They are disc-shaped and have a radiant quality to them. They are close enough now to see the markings on them. It is a type of swastika. This is fantastic. Where are we? What has happened? I tug at the controls again. They will not respond. We are caught in an invisible vice grip of some type. 1,135 hours. Our radio crackles and a voice comes through in English with what perhaps is a slight Nordic or Germanic accent. The message is, "Welcome, Admiral, to our domain. We shall land you in exactly 7 minutes. Relax, Admiral, you are in good hands. I note the engines of our plane have stopped running. The aircraft is under some strange control and is now turning itself. The controls are useless. 1,140 hours. Another radio message received. We begin the landing process now, and in moments the plane shudders slightly, and begins a descent as though caught in some great unseen elevator. The downward motion is negligible, and we touch down with only a slight jolt. 1,145 hours. I am making a hasty last entry in the flight log. Several men are approaching on foot toward our aircraft. They are tall with blonde hair. In the distance is a large shimmering city pulsating with rainbow hues of color. I do not know what is going to happen now, but I see no signs of weapons on those approaching. I hear now a voice ordering me by name to open the cargo door. I comply. And log from this point I write all the following events here from memory. It defies the imagination and would seem all but madness if it had not happened. The radio man and I are taken from the aircraft and we are received in a most cordial manner. We were then boarded on a small platform-like conveyance with no wheels. It moves us toward the glowing city with great swiftness. As we approach, the city seems to be made of a crystal material. Soon we arrive at a large building that is a type I have never seen before. It appears to be right out of the design board of Frank Lloyd Wright, or perhaps more correctly, out of a Buck Rogers setting. We are given some type of warm beverage which tasted like nothing I have ever savored before.